Bienvenido a un nuevo contenido de Uninorte Co. No olvides suscribirte a nuestro canal.
Good evening. On behalf of the fifth version of Cátedra Global, we want to give you a warm welcome to the event exploring ways to enhance students' autonomy and accountability through flipped learnings at a distance. For this event, we're honored to have the special participation of Anita Stell. She's a tutor at the School of Languages and Cultures in the University of Queensland, Brisbane, Australia. She teaches both undergraduate and postgraduate students in the Applied Linguistics program. Noriko Iwashita is an associate professor at the School of Languages and Cultures in the University of Queensland, Australia. She teaches second language acquisition and language pedagogy courses at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels, research methods, and language assessment and testing. And Indira Niebles is a teacher researcher at the Universidad del Norte. She has taught English at various levels and mainly in ESP courses. She holds a master's degrees in applied linguistics from the University of Queensland, Australia. Welcome and thank you to participate in Cátedra Global.
Thank you, Laura. Hi, everyone. So for our presentation today, what we'll be doing is we're going to be sharing our experiences of using flipped learning at a distance. So based on this, we'll be looking at how to enhance students' autonomy, which is their drive to self-learn, and also students' accountability. So this is their responsibility for completing the class content. So based on our slides today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to have a quick overview here of our presentation. So we're going to have 4 sections for our presentation. Indira, would you mind showing up?
It's sharing. Camilo?
So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting off with the definitions of flipped learning at a distance, and then we're going to have a look at 2 classroom contexts. Okay. So based off this, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be just presenting the definitions for now. Indira, would you mind scrolling up for me?
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, it's there.
Okay.
Yep. Can't you see it?
Sorry, I think you've got the screen.
Yeah, here. Hold on.
So,
sorry.
I wish it was touchscreen. We would all be together. This is sort of an example of what we're going to be talking about with at a distance, right? So at a distance, these sorts of things can happen. It's one of our challenges of trying to work together through separate screens. So basically with flipped learning, just wanted to show you the difference between traditional and flipped learning for now. If you have a look at the orange section, so with the in-class section, in a lecture-based approach, mainly the students would gain their first exposure to the material. And so this is where some of the students might already know some of the content, but other students, it would be the first time they see it, right? In a flipped learning classroom, in class, the students would be applying. So before class, students would have the first exposure, and this creates a sort of, I guess, a foundation. So it gives them an idea of what's expected of them when they come to class. They've already got some form of familiarity, and in class, they can actually talk more about what they know instead of it being the first time they see something. Okay, and then after class, the difference would be instead of just giving them homework to apply the content, like the lecture-based approach, in a flipped learning classroom, it's really all about reflecting on what they've learned. So really looking at the I guess the activities that we did in class, and also thinking about if they have any questions or if they like anything else to be done in the next class after that. So it's really at this stage more student-based, right? So moving on to the next slide, just really want to show you at a distance. So this new feature just before where we had that technical difficulty, at a distance really focuses on having the classroom context online. Okay, and given the circumstances, we know at the moment this can happen at any time. It's not ideal at times, but it can be a whole or partial online delivery for the course. So it could just be one class in the 12-week course, or it could be for the entire session. So it really emphasizes on having that flexible design. So it's scalable. You can add, we can deduct when we need to, and it's based off students' learning preferences as well. And I guess in this area, then Indira is going to be moving on and talking about accountability.
Thank you, Anita. So I'll be talking about accountability in the flipped classroom. I'll walk you through the forms it can take, the strategies we can use, and when or which moments of the class we can use them. Now, accountability is an essential part of the flipped learning because, as we already know, students need to come prepared to class. When we think about it, or when we think about accountability, sometimes we think that it's a burden and it's going to be us constantly grading assessments or evaluation, and it's not the case because accountability can also come in the form of formative assessment. When we have formative assessment in our classes, even though we're not providing a grade to the students, we're actually providing them with the opportunity to learn from their mistakes, to identify their own needs. It also helps us as teachers identify the specific needs they might be having. So it's also a way to build on these knowledge or SLOs we're trying to work on in our classes. Additionally, it gives room for task familiarity, which it ends up, adding to the summative assessment aspect. Here, I try to find just a few strategies that can be used as forms for accountability. However, there are thousands that you can find, and I'm pretty sure that you already know tons of them. But one of them could be CATS, and that's classroom assessment techniques. And if you are not so familiar with this, I highly encourage you to do to check these because it's really, really useful. We also have, or we may also use entrance ticket activities, and these activities are basically any activity we have the students either upload or submit in our classroom, Google Classroom or Blackboard, and that's before class. We also have quizzes which can be pop or announced, and they can also be before class, during the beginning, like in the beginning of the class, in the middle of quizzes can happen at any moment of the class. These next activity, solving cases and problems, is something I really use because that's how I have shaped my class. And later on, I'm going to show you a clear example of how I use this. Another example would be exit ticket activities, which is the same as entrance ticket activities, but it's just, students leaving some work, and they can either, as I said before, leave it uploaded in Classroom or Blackboard. Now, having heard about flipped classroom, what it entails, I would like to hear some opinions or some thoughts that you may have about it. Have you ever experienced flipped learning? We will see. You would need to enter the slides that we shared with you and the link we left for you. And if you have the link, you may just leave your answers there. So, have you ever experienced flipped learning before? Okay. Well, I guess this is again one of those things that will not always work. But yeah, just think about it. Have you ever experienced it? Maybe your answer can be yes or no, or maybe you're not even sure. Sometimes um, by intuition, we do things as teachers because we feel that's the best call, and sometimes we don't even have a name for it. So maybe you have experienced flip learning as a student or as a teacher. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about my experience with Flip Classroom, and my context is a business English course for the International Business Program and the Business Administration Program. This class is a clear class, and it revolves around intercultural business communication. It also has a focus on reading, on developing reading and writing skills. And from the 4 classes that I have, in total, I have 70 undergraduate students. Their level of English is upper intermediate or studying B2. So they're basically independent users. And this is a credit-based class. Now, the reasons why I decided to flip my class, it's because I found in Flip Classroom or in Flip Learning many of the traits or many of the skills I wanted to develop in my class. So on this side, you can see my student learning outcomes, and on this side, you can see some of the benefits that Flip Learning gives you. So to me, reading, it was just a natural choice because, here I have identifying general and specific information, but they also needed to make inferences and draw conclusions from it. So reading, as you know, is one of the forms that the students have to be prepared for class. So to me, it was just a perfect match. Additionally, because this is a class that aims at developing intercultural business skills or communication, I decided, or last semester, I redesigned it, basing it more on the study of cases, and critical thinking and problem solving, again, fit that characteristic or those SLOs as well. So to me, first giving the students some readings in terms of theory or maybe cultural models, and then have them come to class to apply all this knowledge was just a great way. Additionally, I was just, I felt really happy with the transition from, it was first, it was a little bit daunting, but when you are in online teaching, autonomy and accountability are very vital aspects of successful teaching. So to me, these 3 aspects perfectly matched with my SLOs. And I think, like, if you explore Flip Learning, you will always find how to match your learning outcomes to it, because it's flexible, because it allows you to develop different skills, and there's always space for your SLOs. Next, I'm going to show you how this is an activity that I have, and I'm just going to show you. By the way, these slides that I'm using are called Perdex. I'm pretty sure that most of you are already familiar with it. Later on, Dr. Iwashita will present more of this. But these are interactive slides, and what I do in my class is to, for example, in this case, for this activity, this was called Are Two Managers Too Many? So this was and going back to I'm going to show you this SLO. It was about, like, I wanted to work on applying intercultural strategies to simulated business scenarios. So I had my students prepare for class by providing them with the slides that contained information on 2 of the models, on 2 of the 4 models that we were studying as a models of culture applied to global business. So they had to do reading on the 2 models, and when they came to class, I grouped them and had them work in pairs or groups. I gave them 2 versions of 2 emails that these 2 managers were sending to their corresponding supervisors. The context of this activity was a management problem that arose from cultural differences. So they had read about these models. They knew what these models were about. And then in class, by reading the two emails these two characters had written, they were able to identify the reason or the root of their differences in behavior. So that was the first step of this activity. They were basically applying, they were identifying and connecting what they had learned with this activity. Next, and from here, I asked them to, now that you have identified the reasons or the differences between them, I need you to find specific elements or specific aspects, cultural aspects they need to learn from each other, and then they needed to give me a solution. So this activity, in a very simple way, it encouraged them to work in groups. They had discussion moments. We had discussion moments with like peers and then with me, and it gave me the opportunity. This was not a graded activity, by the way, so they had the opportunity to, you know, make corrections when they were not identifying the aspects or the cultural aspects of each character correctly. I have to say that when it comes to finding the solution activities, you have to be really, really specific, because sometimes students can be really broad, and that's when you cannot exactly see whether the preparation was there or not. So being or asking students to be specific, it's a great way to understand or to see whether they have done their preparation part or not. So we had the pre-class, this was the in-class, and the end for us was this. And it's really important for me in class to constantly remind them of the importance of it and the importance of intercultural business communication for them. Now, this is something I use, and I have to say that Perdex offers tons of, you know, reflection like slides. You can also, you know, change the wording and add whatever prompt you find most appropriate. So in this case, I had them come up with the most important things they had learned. Again, I asked them to be really, really specific, and also how they would use this information in their future or professional life. So it was a very good activity. I think this is one of the most successful activities that I have had, and it's a great combination of flip learning, applying, and also, you know, achieving the SLOs of my class. So now I'm gonna leave you with Anita, who's gonna share her experience with her classroom.
Thanks, Indira. That's quite interesting. That's something we haven't actually used yet in the course, Perdex. So we're quite excited seeing that as well. Thanks, Indira, for that. So in our class context, the classroom that I'm going to be focusing on is part of the Applied Linguistic group. So this course introduces the theoretical perspectives on language learning, and we also look at the different teaching methods as well. So at the moment, we've got approximately 60 postgraduate students, and it's currently offered online only through our external delivery. So the main area we're really focusing on is getting the students to understand these theories and also understand the different teaching approaches. So we really want to focus on helping them develop their communication. So that idea where they're able to interact effectively with each other through using things like group work, class discussions. We really want to get more students to share their experiences. It's all about really trying to understand the theory, but also draw from their personal experiences, right? So a majority of students who have taken this course would have at least learned another second language. And it's something that we'd really like them to do. So at the end of the course, what we do also is we get the students to experience learning another language towards the end. So it would be like a third language for them, and then we get them to apply these different theories and teaching methods. So flipping the classroom would really help to enhance those experiences, we thought. Yeah. And so the next slide, I just wanted to show you how we organized our flip learning content. So this is where The course has been flipped from week 1 to week 13. And as you can see here, this is how we organize all of the learning material for the students on Blackboard. So here we've got like week 3, you can see an example. We just like to organize it so students understand what's expected of them. So students know before class they need to do the readings, they need to complete the quizzes as well, and also watch the videos. And as you can see here with the videos, we've also provided the slides as well as the transcripts for students. And this was really based off previous feedback as well. So students have mentioned that they do like to watch the short videos with slides. They like to take down notes, or they like to read the transcripts, highlight them. So we're really trying to, I guess, work for their learning, well, their study preferences, right? Another area I just wanted to show you on the other slide, on the previous slide was we also had an additional resources section. So down here, if you have a look, we've got like week 3 extra materials Padlet. So on this Padlet, what we include is additional videos, readings, just little bits and pieces. And what we found was students actually also use that as prep. So they can either use it as prep or a way to reflect on the learning content for the week. And we found that students actually mentioned it a lot in the reflection process. So when they talked about it, they always thanked us for really interesting videos that they could watch beforehand, which was always nice. So this is something we've continued to include as part of the additional resources. Here you can see this is a new part of our course. So because the students are currently online, that idea of having flipped learning at a distance is quite important for us. So we have to find ways to include more communication methods. So we've decided to pilot Microsoft Teams for this semester. And this is where we include all of our updated links, so for each classroom. So it's really important to make sure that the material is tailored, I guess, for the students, so they know that these are their resources and we're going to be using these resources in class. So they have these expectations, and they also have these requirements of them as well to keep up to date by having a look at our Microsoft Teams page for any information, but also for the required resources for class. Another example I just wanted to show you was here down below. You can see a Baby Yoda scale. So sometimes we do like to just post these to create that communication with the students, and it gives them a different way to reflect as well. Some find it quite fun. They do mention it in class. Even though they are postgraduate students, Baby Yoda, I think, kids and adults can enjoy. And here you can see that we've got a more formal reflection, which is our mid-semester course evaluation. So we do like to get students to reflect on their, experience with using flipped learning. So we do ask them questions like what they thought about it. Did it help with their learning needs? Is there anything that they really liked? Is there anything that they thought needed improving? And we always try to take this on board before we continue on with the rest of the semester. And it really just helps us to get to know our students as well and to get feedback from them. Students are quite used to this process. The reflection part is part of their weekly requirements. So at the end of each lesson, they also have to complete these weekly reflections on what they thought helped with their learning experience and what they thought needed more improvement. So either through their own preparation or through the class content, that sort of idea. Yeah. So these are sort of examples, and here you can see in the two contexts, the one with Indira's classroom context and my classroom context, it's quite different in the sense of how we get students to prepare class material beforehand. So Indira had the entrance ticket assignments where they had to complete some sort of activities first, hand it in before coming to class. And for our class, me and Narco's class, they have to complete the readings first and then the pre-quizzes. Then in class, we've also got different requirements. So Indira's might have a graded in-class activity, right? But for us, our class activities, it's really all about applying the learning content and also getting them to prepare for assessments. So we might have a couple of activities which help with scaffolding, which just give them an idea of what's expected of them for the assignments, but these activities aren't graded. Then after class, we've both got different forms of reflection. So we've got the reflection forms for attendance marks, and Indira's got more of the casual reflection questions, like she showed with Perdex. Yeah. So now Narko is going to start with a reflection question for us.
Okay, thank you, Anita and Indra. I just wonder, how would you sort of having you all listen to our talk so far? How would you enhance students' drive to self-learn? Do you have any ideas, or do you have any kind of strategies that you can share with us? Indira, are they able to put in here, or?
I think they can either leave it in the chat room or
Yes.
because I can see 7 answers from here, so I guess let's just try now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm just gonna it works. So
okay.
Yes, please leave your answers here. Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe you can share the answers with us because I can't see anything here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'll share later. Yes.
Yeah.
As soon as I see, we have respondents.
Mm-hmm. It's actually, we find it's reflections are really important things. It's really sort of but it's it is almost what worked and what didn't work, and also that is really not only we found it over years, weaker students tend to describe what they did, but whereas like some of the questions that in there said, and also we often really ask some of the question is a pinpoint, how would you use what is because most of our students are going to be teachers of English as a second language. So we say, how would what do they help? So what aspects of the activity help they thought would be helpful for their teaching later in their own context, etc. And also another thing is what we are trying to do is raising as a sort of as an expert, or what we call it is the role as a teacher as well too. It is a future professional. So in Dira's case, it's probably like a businessman, and it's a get them imagine themselves and it's identify themselves as a business people who are involved in the business, or as people who are involved in teaching, how they see themselves, and really make themselves not only link to their own experience, past experience, but also make them to link their own experience, a future experience in their profession, etc. That's we find it's interesting, and also it is really help them because one of the problems we found was flipped learning is overwhelming for both teachers and students. But it is what we are doing in our classroom is actually nothing is new, because in our case they've accomplished English learners of English, and they're going to be teachers. So, but even if we are talking a lot about teaching, still they are able to relate to what they through their own experience. So it's not really sort of just a new, but it's a relating to their own experience as a learner and as a teacher is really important. That kind of things, and that it would be the same for Indira as well too, because I guess I assume Indira's students are really been as learners of English for many years, so, and they will be able to relate, and also they do have some kind of business experience in a very probably in a non-professional way as well too.
Yeah. So I
shall we
got
move?
some,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I got
No,
I
go
got
ahead.
some answers, and here we have feedback is also given among each other, like student interaction. So there's a previous task, and then there are answers that are shared in class. There's another strategy this person uses, both formative and summative feedback, and it can be provided before, while, and after class. Someone said by grading them. Someone says providing feedback, focusing on what to improve, with something that will be useful in their day to day, which is what you were just mentioning, how to relate it to their future professional life. Someone else said, I'd explain the benefits of autonomous learning and tell them an anecdote to foster self learning. So those were some of the comments shared there.
Thank you. That's great. Yes, the feedback is really important. How it is also, it is what we usually include something. It's really what they excelled or what as we thought was great, but also not only just saying great, but also the areas for further improvement, so that they know and they learn through mistakes, etc. And also benefits. Understanding then the benefits of split learning, it's really important. So I think it is what are we as a we're saying is really own the course, own the content rather than what given, because flipped classroom is actually whether online or offline, it still is a great opportunity for them to become, it is more as a part of their learning, and what they knowledge they receive is actually their knowledge, and that is really important for them. Thanks. Next one. Yeah. So then, as a technology supported tools for students' autonomy and accountability. So it is, we do have a various ones, and in the various ways we use, and students love quizzes in general, and they love kind of competition. Kahoot is a little bit like a knowledge based and answer question, but there is a competition is involved. So they do love, and also funky music, and there's a sort of background music would help them as well too. And being anonymous if they want to, that helps them too. There are other tools such as Quizlet and quizzes, and there are many others. And being as a one of the challenges is for us is new tools are popping up. So that is really difficult for us because to keep discovering. And also, I think it is interactive videos. We haven't used Indira, you have used before in your class. These are probably, it is a quite good one as well. And also interactive slides and also interactive worksheets. We use that is a it's especially in the online environment, we find it's really good. But also we do Teams, as a Microsoft Teams has been a real it's students like it, almost like a learning. It's just sending a text message and asking questions, and it's much more sort of in a casual manner, because many students find it's a bit awkward because they don't want to ask questions because they don't want to be seen they're stupid, etc. So that's why, but they just ask question what they think, and it is easy for us to respond very quickly as well too. But also in interactive, as we often use Google Docs, and also another one, it is a Google Docs is a really great, it's a collaborative work and an online environment, and they can, even if they don't see each other, they can work in one document. And Padlet is a great way to share their work in the classroom. So it is, we often use both online and non-offline environments. But another way to use Padlet is what they have done. It is will stay in the learning management system. So it would be used, hopefully they're using to revise what they learned and writing the reflections. And also, I guess as Padlet could be used entrance ticket and exit ticket activities. That's actually I use my other course. Before they come to class, they do have to use. They have to submit. So that is working quite well. We just use one Padlet for one class. But also another thing is what I'm using now. It's called check-in. So when they come in, it's really not only flipped in online environment, it's very difficult to know who is who and who is attending. So we ask them to start in check-in. So they do have they just not only write their names, but also they just drop one comment. It's a bit like Microsoft Teams, but we just everyone is watching. And also we do in the Padlet in the last column, we often add the column called questions if they do have a questions. So then they can add questions later as well too. So we do provide various online technological supported tools for students' autonomy, and also they can come back, and that means they were given a lot of different opportunities to learn. So that means they are really have to be accountable as well too. There is opportunity for them to revise using those technologies too. Next slide, please. So then students' autonomy is Indira already is mentioned about the students need to take as a student's responsibility. They really need to understand learning objectives, and also they really I think it is rather than just in a flipped environment, they really needed to think about is what works best for them. It is for themselves. So they needed to select the learning strategies. As Anita said, some students would like to have a script viewing the lecture and the lecture notes. So that's another one way. And also both courses we introduce, we do often use, we are various ways we provide assessment or self-evaluation opportunities, how they are going. And also it is some students are not really we do have a lot of students come from probably passive learning style, so we really have to almost push them, and but it's in class how they can really find their own learning strategy, because everyone is different. But also it is awareness of the future professional, but also we would like them to be experts as well, not only experts in online learning, but also experts of as a subject matter which we are teaching. So thanks. Next one. So then how we can really approach to students, increasing students' autonomy. I think we really have to define clear learning objectives. Mm-hmm. One thing it is I find over years, we think as students understand, but they don't always understand our objectives. Sometimes it's good for them to rewrite down in their own words so they understand. Because we do often hear the words, their favorite words, I'm confused. We don't want to, I often say, we don't want to hear your words confused in the end of the course. So then it is also, so it is important to choose and apply suitable learning strategies for class context. This is online. It is really, online takes a lot of time. So we do expect students to prepare for class activities. That is, maybe it is a good way. And also we don't have a contract. I mean, it was what Indira said was quite well. It is a sort of as an entrance ticket type of things. If they prepare not only the subject matter, but for activities may work better. And also various tools we needed to use for peer and self-assessment, because as a university students, they are adult and they have had many learning opportunities. In some ways, it's we are at the moment, it's my other project, creating creating a tool for students to learn how to assess others' work as well as themselves. That is a sort of, it is, we needed to, as we cannot really expect students know how to assess themselves or peers. That's another thing. And also provide time for self-evaluation. And we don't have to go all the time. We do have some pause and get them how they are going. That's sometimes while we are waiting for students to enter the classroom, we are to check in and how they are going, something like that. And also in the middle, often we provide a time for them to reflect. That is really important. But also, it is provide a condition for students to become experts. It's really, we really, as a teacher, we have to back off and they can be in charge. That is really important. And they are the experts. They will become experts and they will be our colleagues, that kind of things. Mindset is a kind of operating the mind as a sort of controlling their mindset might be as important as well too. So thank you. So it's the next slide. So then there are a lot of challenges to consider and expectations. That is, expectation is a course workload. Some students complained, flipped classroom, they think it is good, but they cannot really spend a lot of time to our own course only because they have got, in our university, full-time students have 4 courses. Flipped learning, it takes so much time, but it's the same time for lectures. We find it takes a lot of time to prepare online. Then they ask for a transcript, and if they think, when they read a transcript, what they say, oh, the lecturers are reading a transcript, which is not true, but they do. It is really difficult to satisfy, and there are a lot of challenges, but constant is monitoring what they are doing. That takes our time. But also roles, understand the teacher and the student's roles. Sometimes, especially the kind of the cohort we have at UQ, they are really, teachers seems to have a much more superior role. They think we know everything, then we provide everything. So they love to have answers on of the questions we ask in the worksheet, etc. But I think it is that we ask them to explore what they think. So it is there. We are, I think, as a teacher, we have to back off. That is, we find as over years, and also it is engagement. Engagement is engaged in classroom activities, but also engage with the materials and also any kind of materials resources we provide. That is a kind of a challenge because different students have got the different learning preference, a learning style preference. That is really difficult, but we try to, but because there are many different resources available, we try to come up with something which is nice to one group of students, and then the other group of students, variety of materials. We make them available, but as engagement is crucial as well too. It's really engagement is almost like a prerequisite of owning what they learned as well. So then it's flexibility. As we all know, probably it is internet drops off, or sometimes it's just the screen doesn't work and we are not able to see students. And I ask them to show your face, smiley, it's a beautiful faces. They said, oh, no, you can't, they can't because their internet connection is not great. Then it drops off. Or sometimes it is a video I provided didn't work because sound wasn't great. And those things, it's just really like we always have to have an option B. If one doesn't work, then it is accountability. It is really, what I try to do is students is responsible. It is a lot of students are responsible of their own learning, but we are helping you, and you get if you work hard and you take in charge, you will get the result. That kind of accountability, but also greater encouragement. it is really important, and it's really hard to keep going for or like more than over 3 months, because students' motivation goes ups and down, and our motivation goes ups and down as well too. Yes, that's all we have to say. Thank you so much for any comments or any ideas to share with us. We'll be very, very grateful. Thank you.
So if you have any questions, you're welcome to type them in the comment section.
I would like to ask you a question. If you haven't used flip learning in your class, what challenges do you think you would face?
Oh, for me?
No, it's for the audience, so we can.
Classes?
Yeah, because I really wonder, like, because there are always general challenges, and I wonder if maybe there's a specific challenge or different challenges that we can find.
That's quite interesting. I think without flipped learning, I think if we put the students into breakout groups through, if we had some sort of activities in our lecture-based class, there might be a lot of discussion like, oh, I didn't do the readings. There'll be a lot of parts where they're trying to catch up, I think, if we didn't have the extra requirements before class type thing. So like your entrance ticket. Yeah.
So we have a question here. What do you think about student design lesson? It's hard.
Good question.
It's a very good question. But what we do have at UQ, we do have called Students as a Partner project, and we do solicit a lot of comments. And if students, about 4 or 5 students, come to work with us for 1 semester, and they get paid. So then they do. They do give a lot of suggestions and to revise activities, and not only creating the supporting materials.
Wow.
And which works really well, because we can hear, sometimes we don't want to hear, but
Yeah.
I think
Thank
if we
you,
did
Kat.
if we had student design lessons, it would probably be towards the middle. Once they understand all the expectations in the class, and we can kind of start to shift things around a little bit, that sort of idea. But a lot of prep.
Yeah.
In the past, when another course I remember it's we try to get the students to run the class instead of us. Even I think it is my colleague worked he thought it was worked well, but in my class didn't work, so I'm not really sure. But I think there's another opportunity, especially for able students. I think it is a great opportunity with our guidance.
Yeah. Someone left a comment here. Students don't do the activities previous to class. I think, I think this responds to my question. I think it's everyone's experience in class. Not all the students do the work, but I feel like once they get to see the consequences of it, like not being able to properly participate, especially if they're doing group work, somehow enhances this accountability aspect, which I think progressively improves. So it's a matter of selecting the kind of activities we're doing so that they do feel responsible next time because they're not contributing, because they see their classmates are getting feedback and they're not. So I think like with time and by designing really active learning activities, then they can start changing this mindset. They learn little by little. So it's a matter of, I guess, culture in this sense.
That's right.
Creating
And also, I think it is a clear instruction. They often say they don't really know how they do it. So I think it is a clear instruction. Something it is we tend to have too many activities. So maybe in the flipped learning classroom or online environment, it's probably one less activity. So then they do have a sense of achievement. That is really important.
yeah.
But also I found I often jump in, gate crusher of the breakout room. So to find out what they are doing. Yeah. Mm.
Something I really wanted to mention because I already saw it from UQ,
Yes.
from Noriko and Anita. They do have this web page. I mean, they have a section in their web page in which there's flip learning and how to do it, and the students can go there. So that's another source of understanding what the expectations are. So I think
Mm-hmm.
like the word expectation plays a big role in flip learning as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
no,
we do have a activity. It's a sort of we created the video clips, what flip to learning, what they are expected. Students made it, and which is good. Yeah.
It tends to help at the start, like in week 1 and 2, just kind of
Mhm.
reminding them of their role as a
Yeah.
student.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes a
Yes.
difference.
I'm wondering what stopped us, because I know some of my colleagues don't want to do a flipped classroom. They rather just to keep going on traditional classroom online environment. And I think it is probably teamwork is really good. I had a number of I had a few people in my different my all my courses are now flipped learning flipped mode. So then we had a few people work with. So it's just really harder to work on your own. So it is really sharing the idea. It is really important, and sharing the workload too.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Timing things must be very accurate. Yes. Yes. Designing the engaging activities is, I think it's really challenging. As Noriko was mentioning, every student has a different preference, and I think that reflects in our teachers' evaluation. We can see comments as she's the best, or the class needs to be more fun or entertaining. So there's this crowd that we need to please that sometimes
Yeah.
it's not possible. So it's actually a challenge.
It is becoming in that education becoming almost like a consumer kind of as a lot of consumerism is happening. We are really sort of pleasing customers, which are
Yeah.
who are students, which is not really great, but it's that's a culture we live in. But another thing is that I have those courses in the past, and I'm still doing. I just turning into a flipped classroom one course this year. I take about 3 years to make it better. So it just 2 or 3 years. Don't do it in 1 year or one semester, because it is too impossible. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Okay, seems like there are no more comments
No.
or questions. Okay.
We would like to thank our fine lecturers for their participation and invaluable contributions, and to all of our viewers for accompanying us in this 5th version of Cátedra Global Uninorte. We would like to invite you to keep watching our different events of Cátedra Global throughout the semester, and we also like to invite you all to click on the subscribe button to keep tuned with all the events and conferences of the Universidad del Norte. Thank you very much again to the professors, and have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Los siguientes contenidos de Uninorte Co te pueden interesar. No olvides suscribirte a nuestro